So, episode 4, we forgot. It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 4. What happened? A lot of things came to light.
Yes.
And this is a lot more complicated than a lot of people thought.
Episode 3 left off where Tak had basically said, like, Kel, after she'd revealed...
And then Kel was just like, is that who I am?
Yeah, like, was that my name? And you can tell Kovacs is just like, oh, God. Like, this is a lot deeper than I thought.
And so, this episode picks up, basically you going through Kel telling, Tak, what it's been like for her. And she's basically describing it like she's running around, and there are roots everywhere, and she feels like she's fighting something else.
Yeah, like an entity in her mind. And there's a animated kind of short where, like, she's running up a staircase in a tower, very dreamlike, and like it's like
and like she was saying, like, basically she feels trapped in her mind.
Yes.
She's trapped in her mind. And she doesn't know who she is, what she's done, or why she's back. So of course, her and Kovacs, and he's trying to just like tell her, you're this person, and she's just like, I don't know. So then we have, because she said basically for a while she felt trapped, and then she heard his voice.
Oh yeah, and it's going through the flashbacks.
And she was like, I don't know why.
Of like,
but for some reason.
The very interesting thing that stood out for me is it was like, in the flashbacks, I think this hooded figure tries to stab her with a knife.
Yeah.
But you notice that's a similar, because Kovacs threw the knife at her, and she caught it without even looking at it.
And that's then when she stabbed she stabbed the specter.
And said, "Tak."
Yeah.
So that made me think, like, okay, maybe this is not so much a simulation as some type of augmented reality she was trapped in. And I'm like, oh, this is getting interesting.
It's possible. But then we go from them having their little moment to the Colonel. Carrera. Yeah.
Wolf Boy.
Yeah, Wolf Boy. that is his name. So basically he goes and, he gives the order to, like, one of his guys is like, the power shutting down wasn't accidental. A tech did it, but we don't know which one. He was like, round them up. So now we have them
Texas Roundup.
Yeah, they're gonna round up all the techs.
And yeah, because I'm not sure chronologically if it was immediately after that they started torturing them.
Well, pretty soon after that, because
there's cuts and stuff in the. I think it flashes back from there to, because I know there was a scene too where Kel.
A lot is happening.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
it's just like a lot happening.
Trying to put it chronologically.
Well, because then you have, it goes to, Kovacs is just like, I got to get us off this planet. He's like,
oh, yeah.
Even though you don't remember me fully, will you trust me if we have to get off this planet? You cannot stay here. We have to get you off this planet. Will you trust me to get us off this planet? And she's just like, yeah. So he leaves, and he goes and, like, basically, again, is being a douche to Poe. And that's, and like, Dig.
Oh, it's so sad.
It's really mean.
Like, douche to Poe.
Because, the bounty hunter.
Oh, yeah.
Shows up, and, like, she shows up, and he's just like, this is a bounty you don't want to try and collect. And then Poe's just like, you're not here either. And, like, shoots her, and it's a hologram. And then Kovacs is just like, you let a bounty hunter find us.
Yeah, and it's like, you revealed our location, she was a hologram, and like, why did you do that?
Yeah. And then Poe's just like, well, I was trying to, and Kovac of course didn't want to hear. Dig tries to step in and is just like, hey, you're kind of being mean.
Oh, this was.
And then he's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Dig. And he's like, oh, so you're a service robot, or you're a service AI. She's like, well, yeah. He was like, here you go.
Yeah, so you're bound to whoever pays you.
And then she's just awkwardly just standing there, just like,
because she's realizing, like, please don't, like.
And then he's like, you're hired. And then he's like, basically tells Poe, just like, I don't need you anymore.
F off.
Yeah.
Like, it was just. And I'm just watching this, just like, no.
And then it really was just awful.
It was so sad. Like
he was super mean to Poe, and it's like.
It just makes you want to cry, honestly.
Honestly, anything that happens to Kovac is just like. I mean, you're a douche. You've had enough time to reevaluate yourself, and you're still kind of much a douche.
Yeah, what, like 300? Well, granted, he was unconscious.
You were unconscious during that, but after all the stuff in the last season, stuff leading up to this season, and you still haven't put two and two together, that maybe you don't need to be such a jerk.
Right. It's almost like violence begets violence.
So then we find out, like, he starts to leave, and he's just like, you can't leave. And he's just like, whatever. And she's just like, it's Harlan's day. That's the one day it's going to be, like, flooded with people and protectorate. And you're wanted.
Yeah, like, I think at this point he's number one bounty on the planet.
He's number one bounty, and the amount goes up by the second.
Yeah, because they pull up the bounty, it's just like, some kind of stock price. It's just.
Yeah. And it's just like, dude. So he goes out and he just grabs like a mask of Old Man Harlan.
Old.
We're just gonna. There we
Old
go.
Man Harlan.
Yeah. Puts it on and just walking through the crowd. And it's just like, here we go. It's gonna be one of these scenes.
Yeah.
So he goes.
One of these.
And then it cuts to. Governor Harlan.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm assuming her boyfriend? I don't know what they are. He wasn't security.
Jarek?
He wasn't security, though.
Yeah, I think it was Jarek. Something with a J. But
it cuts to her and him. They're walking, and basically we find out she's basically funneled it to where anyone trying to, like, leave the planet can only go to one place. And he's like, "This, why are we here? Blah blah blah." And he's just annoyed. He's like, "I'm around poor people."
Oh,
and she's just like,
very douchey. Like, these are plebs. What are we doing here?
And she's just like, he's gonna have to go. If he tries to leave, they're gonna only have one place to go.
Oh yeah, because of the.
And basically, we find out she also said it to, like, anyone having to leave basically had to get, like, governor's permission, basically. For any, like, I guess because they don't really have airplanes, it's just like you get re-sleeved, basically.
It's like
you get uploaded and downloaded.
It's like the Star Trek Beam Me Up.
Basically,
exactly
it's something like that. Yeah.
The needle cast.
And then she also meets up with one of the other founders, and he's just like, "This is bad. We don't need to be doing all this stuff. We need to focus on the issue at hand." And she's just like, "No, I got it. Don't worry about it." And then, like, she runs into the dad and his daughter, and, the daughter doesn't want, she's scared, little kid. And then, the governor is just like, she's basically like, like, old men usually hold on to fear. And so, she's like, I understand, you're scared, you don't want to be separated from your dad. She's like, I understand. And she's just like, men they hold on to fear, and it's up to us to basically kind of like rise above it and to be better than them.
Yeah, and there is a
be better than our fathers.
Poignant line she says, and this was one of the things I know. She leans in close to the daughter and says, "If you truly love your father, like, let him go and rise above him."
Yes,
like,
that was the line.
Screw that guy.
And of course, for some reason, this kid is just like, okay. That's, and it's just like child.
And you see like the emotion drop from her face basically, and I was just like, whoa. I had to do a double take while I was watching. I was like, and then it's like, that's supposed to be the emotion conveyed, or
and then it's like the dad is like, oh, thanks, governor, and she's just like, oh, sure, and she does like this awkward like look at him, and it's just like, ew.
Oh yeah.
And that comes into play later, and it's just like, ugh.
Forgot about that.
It's like,
but yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, that was.
And
so after that, Carrera goes and like he basically retracks Kovacs' steps, and he goes and finds
as a bio tracker.
He goes and finds the Tanaseda. Yes.
Yeah, Tanaseda.
I was just like, my head went blank.
It's like Game of
Thrones. A lot
Thrones,
happened. It's like there's
so
and like this
characters.
And like this episode, there really was that kind of Game of Thrones aspect where it was like, these are a lot of side stories that you didn't think were side stories. Mm-hmm. Turns out they're now side stories.
And the interesting part is they all intersect each other at different points, and you're like, I'm loving this.
Because he goes and talks to Taneda, and basically, is like, turn over Kovac. He's gonna come to you again. Because the only way to leave is if you have connections.
Right, yeah.
And then he basically, like, sees the tree and he, like, breaks a branch off and, like, crushes it, and Taneda's just like,
I could have you killed for that, is what he says.
And, he basically threatens him. And it's just like, I can basically have you and your entire family just gone.
Yeah, erased. Like,
But at the same time, Taneda is kind of just like, there are bigger things that I've been afraid of, or something like it. It was
very hinted,
cryptic. It's cryptic, and it comes back later.
Language.
It comes back later. So he goes and talks to the dude, or he, Carrera leaves, and then, oh gosh. So then Kovac goes, meets the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And he wants to team up with her, and. He basically, does the whole little envoy thing. He's like, obviously, the day I gave you this money, or the stacks from these people, this one person's bounty jumped up by that exact same amount.
Oh, yeah, because she started the conversation by being like, why are you here? You're the number one bounty. Or I think she actually ambushes him.
He obviously wanted her to ambush him.
True, but like...
But then he's like, he's obviously your brother. Or something, and then she's just like, come on. And so they go back to her place, and you find out she has a kid, and he's like, oh, you're renting it? He's like, it's obvious that's a new sleeve.
Yeah,
he's not
renting
used to
a child's sleeve
on
Harlan's world has got to be extravagantly expensive.
And you're still putting all this money on a bounty.
Yeah, it's like
so it's obviously someone important.
Yeah, someone important. And then he also said, you might be the best bounty hunter in the system, but you don't have my intuition to be able to find him. And it's like,
and then she's just like, it really does become Avengers Assemble. And then it goes back to Dig, and she's trying to like learn the stuff about the hotel, because now she is in charge of the hotel, because Poe basically just handed it over to her and was like, it's in your hands. And so now she's just like, where's the first aid kit? Poe is just like under the counter. And she's just like, this is a bottle of whiskey. He was like, we also have like vodka or something. And it's just like...
He's like, Kovac treats it as medicine or something. It's just so sad. And,
Poe kind of feels betrayed too. He's like, and she's just like, a service AI is nothing without a job. Because, again, she had been just sitting doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you really get the sense that, AI, just as much as humans, have just been discarded.
It's like it's easy to discard
mimetic garbage, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And so then, they have their little moment, and then Poe is just like, the only thing I can do is to just... This wouldn't have been an issue if I had just rebooted.
Yeah,
and so he goes and he's just like, I know what I I have to just like work up my nerve to do it.
Yeah, find the resolve.
And Dig is kind of just like, she kind of is just like, don't, or, but she just kind of watches him and he leaves. So then the scene goes to Kovacs finally gets to Taneda. And, he's just like, Protectorate dude came here. Or, well, did he even say that at first? He eventually says it, but no, his grandson is like, you shouldn't have come back here.
Oh, and you still see a couple bruises and stuff.
And then Kovacs is like, just being like a smart ass. And the grandson just walks away. And it's just like, read the room. Kovacs. It's like, for an envoy, you're terrible.
Abrasive as an envoy.
And then basically, Taneda is just like, I didn't give you up. He's like, I'm not going to. And he's like, the only way for you to get off the planet tonight is to have the governor's signature. And so he's just like, I'll see what I can do, basically.
They work out a kind of deal.
Because he also, the conversation of fathers comes up again. And Kovacs is just like, I've had enough of because he says who Carrera was the one who came and talked to him. And then he's just like, it's Jaeger. He basically trained me ever since I was a child.
Exploited the fact that I needed a father.
Yeah. And then, you have the flashbacks of Kovacs and Jaeger training, and they're just bonding. And he's just like, he didn't get over the fact that I just kind of abandoned post.
Yeah.
And so now it's just...
Well... Because I'm just going to very briefly touch on this. I think I remember in season 1 there was a flashback where he was going up against a Yakuza. And of course, Tanaseda is also Yakuza. We don't know exactly what the connection is. But like, there was a time where he was about to shoot and kill Raylene. Raylene had the katana. And then the C-Tech came marching in. And him and Raylene just killed everybody in season. So it's... more than just abandoned post. He killed C-Tag and was, traitor. I'm not sure if it's traitor excommunicated.
He basically betrayed them.
Yeah, completely betrayed them. So, there's some bad blood there.
And so then it does a quick cut and it shows Carrera back in the, area where they've been rounding up all these techs. And they're screaming. And so they're not he's just found anything out and he's just no one's talking. And he's just make them talk. So then it cuts again. You go back to the governor. She's at this little penthouse thing and they're getting ready for the party. She's messing with the decorations, just checking fireworks, all this stuff. And then the other dude comes back.
Work.
And it really is just busy work. And, people are trying to tell her, we don't need to be focusing on this right now. We have a bigger issue. And she's just like, no.
Yeah, there's a dude with, a 1,000,000 credit bounty,
running around. And she's just like, yeah. But then it also does a thing where she's talking about, they were talking about, her father.
Yeah,
and they started mentioning things about the past and things that were done. And it does a specific cut where, it shows the dude, and then it kind of focuses on a picture of Old Man Harlan.
Yeah, with some type of grand.
Because it was basically she was just like, it's Harlan's Day, blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, I mean, we both found the thing, but that seems to get forgotten.
That line.
But Harlan took the credit for it, the most credit for it.
And so then you're like, well, what's the thing?
And it's they're very just, all of this is because of us.
Oh no, I forgot. It does earlier when Dig was looking through archival things. She talks in the about hotel. Harlan's Day. It's Harlan found the tree burial, whatever, the material that makes stacks, essentially.
Yeah. And then, basically this is how we're here today and blah, blah, blah. Let's celebrate. Mm-hmm. And so it keeps alluding to what did they actually find?
Mm-hmm. Because, There's I'm not gonna skip around too much.
A lot happened. Keep it chronological.
It's hard to keep it chronological.
It is.
Oh no, I remember what happened next. Poe, we saw earlier, left. He is in Kel's room.
Yeah, he goes to talk to her, and he basically is just like, "What's it like, not remembering?
Oh yeah.
Who you are?" And she describes it, and he's just like, "Thanks for making it, poetic."
Oh yeah, poetic.
Because she did kind of like give it a very poetic description of how it felt.
Yeah, it was something about like you're in the water and you feel like the land underneath you,
it's like
desperately out of reach.
Yeah, the land is under, like you're swimming in water and you want to reach land, and there's land underneath you, and it's out of reach.
Yeah, and it's like you can never quite reach it, like, and you just feel like you're drowning trying to get. And it's this very thing where you're just like, oh.
Yeah. But then Poe kind of glitches, and then he's just like, he starts glitching, and he's just like, I have to leave. And Kel was just like, confused.
Oh, yeah. And then
because she's like, you wanted to, ask me something.
Yeah, like about and she actually takes the kindness and time to remind him what he was there for. He's like, oh wow, nobody's like ever done this before. Like, people are actually nice to me.
And so
then, so sad.
Kovacs gets the, we're gonna work together thing with Taneda.
Oh yeah, he.
Well, because they're talking, and then this is when it comes up that, I could turn you in, and Kovacs is just like, I will kind of doesn't say it, but shows it that if I have to use like this tiny thing, I will.
The pruning shears, like, I will murder you. And he's like, I'll go ahead and get your passes. Like, it's done. I've made my decision.
Well, because he was like, again, he brought up the, like, we have enough regrets, and I'm tired of having the regrets.
Yeah, and it's like...
and again, he's a founder.
Yeah, and it's like, you get I'll go ahead and say it, a oddly, like, suicidal vibe from Taneda, from that, and a couple other things. Like, not that he would do it, but that is like, if I die, I die, man. Yeah. I deserve it. And it's just like, man,
well, and then
like, what the heck happened?
So then because again, this episode was just cutting back and forth between so much. Because it cuts back before Poet left. Kel was like, "Who am I? I want to know who I am." So Poe just pulled up the thing for her, and she's been looking, and then Kovacs comes back, and she's just like, "So I'm a horrible person.
Yeah.
Why do you want to bring this back?" And he's just like, "That's just propaganda."
And she's like, terrorist, murderer, like.
I mean, they're all saying it. And he's just like, that's how they're portraying you, but that's not who you are. Mm-hmm. And they do a thing. They get busy.
The Kel I know is different, like a scientist. Because he says the Kel I know, like, invented stacks to, like, see the entire universe.
See the stars.
Like, see the stars. And, like, he waxes poetic. And I remember she's just like, the boy inside the man, she says. And Kovacs reacts to it. He's like, and she's like, I've said that to you before. He's like,
yeah, on a bridge.
You did on a bridge. Do you remember? And she starts getting her memories back, but then she has a sort of, you cut to kind of like The Shining, like a door closed, and then she just gasps, and it's like, because he starts freaking out, and she's like, no, keep me here, like, whatever you do, like,
and then, and then they do the thing.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into that.
Oh, no, I won't.
But then it cuts to the party, and the party's going on. Taneda comes in, and everyone kind of just stops and looks.
What the heck is he doing?
And he just walks up to the governor. It's just like, I need passes to leave. And she's just like, this is something you could have given my secretary.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think so. And then she's just like, here you go.
Yeah,
like she doesn't even think
and...
about it or just care. She's just like, here you go. Here are the passes.
Yeah, like, stop bothering me. Like, be
and
gone.
then he's like, he's like, this is...
I think, comes by.
Well, because he's looking around, too. Well, he's just watching her. And then, Taneda gives her something, and I think he says it's for your father. And she's just like...
Oh, yeah, the envelope.
He gives her an envelope. Because Kovac, we missed. Kovac had given him. He had drawn what Kel was carving into the thing because he was like, I saw it in a memory, and he was like, do you recognize? So he asked Kel if she recognized, and she was like, no. Then he asked Tanaseda, and he was just like, no, and just kind of folded it up. But he gives, the governor a letter, and he's just like, give this to your father. And she's just like, no one knows. And
no one knows where
But then he specifically says, you of all people will know how to get it to him. And then he leaves. And then she kind of she opens it and looks, and she just doesn't know and just throws it in a pile of, like, congratulation cards or whatever. And that's when Dugert, I think that's the dude's name.
Yeah, Dugan was his name.
He sees, like, the conversation, and he goes over to her, and he's just like, what did he want? And she's just like, he just wanted passes. And then, like, he starts kind of making his way to the table to, like, grab it. Because eventually he does grab, I don't remember if it was the same scene. He picks it up, opens it, sees it, closes it, and just books it. He's like, we have to go.
Somehow, him and Tanaseda,
because they're both founders,
get into a conversation or confrontation. I can't remember if it was when he opened the letter.
It was before, because he was starting to make his way towards the governor.
Right, and they were saying something about, like, Tanaseda, we're all guilty of it. Something about honor, and Tanaseda was like, unlike you, my honor is still... Or he asked him, like, what are you doing here? There's apparently something that happened. He said, like, my honor is still intact, unlike yours, and then just books it.
Yeah, and eventually, this is when we get to the point where he gets the thing, and he looks at it, and then books it. And just, like, him and his, like, security guard, he's just like, we have to go. So then it cuts back. It cuts back to the tech who had shut the power off. And, like, she's being tortured by Carrera and his men. And, like, she's just like, I'm not, like... He's like, why did you do it? And she's just like, because she's Oakcrest Falconer. He's like, so you did it for a scent. And she's just like, I saw her blood. Yeah, it was red like mine.
She was organic.
And, like, she's basically, like, not afraid of him. And, like, she doesn't care that she's being tortured. And she's just like, I've been to this room. I've seen these rooms before. I've seen the people they've brought into them before. And at this point, Carrera is just like, what?
Yeah, well, wait a minute.
At the end of the last scene, you have someone come to the governor, one of her secretary. And he's like, Carrera is taking prisoners to this specific area. And she's just like, that's only where we take political prisoners.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, political? What? And then she's just like, handle it.
Yeah, like, move them, give some type of order.
And they're like, he can't find anything out about that area. So then, Carrera's interrogating this lady, and she's like, I've seen the people, like, I've heard what they do in these rooms. And Carrera's just like, what? And he's just like, what do they do? And she's just like, I'm not telling you. And at this point, another protectorate person comes in, and it's just like, we have to take these prisoners. And like they're over him.
Yeah, because right before they come in, because they've been doing all kinds of horrible,
like they've been pulling out her teeth. Yeah,
like,
they killed other ones.
And he says that they've ratted you out. What I want to know is why she does it. But then I think one of the things she says is like, something about like the ceasefire or war. Like, what? Yeah. And she's like, is that what you think? Like, go ask.
And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, go ask the governor. And that's when the person breaks in.
Oh, yeah. Because like...
And they're just like, no, we're taking these prisoners. And he's just like, she knows something. I'm not done interrogating.
Yeah, like this is a CTAC jurisdiction. And she's like, I mean, it's a governor of the planet. You really want to take this up?
And, like, they take them, and so now you have this thing where it's, like, even and then Carrera tells his dude, call in Project Evergreen.
Oh, yeah, Evergreen. What's the, like, status report? And they're like, it's ready to launch or whatever. Something from the needle cast.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is Evergreen? Like,
and then it cuts back to Kel and Kovac after their whole little ordeal. It's like you see like these branches kind of like creeping towards Kel, and then she wakes up, and you realize her expression. This is not the memory loss Kel. This is I'm on a mission, Kel.
Like some devilish smirk, and you're just like, oh no.
And before, when Kovacs was talking to Tanaseda, when Kovacs left, or before Kovacs left, Tanaseda said, "Please forgive her."
Oh yeah.
And Kovacs didn't get it. But then she leaves, and it cuts to Poe talking to Lizzie. We find out it's a hologram, a recording he did of her, like before. Well, she sent him before
they
left.
What was it? San Francisco?
Something. Before they left.
Something. I think it was.
And Dig is just like, so this is why you don't want to reboot. And, you know, he's about to, and then she's like, well, wait, I'm an archive AI. Why don't I just back up all of your stuff?
Yeah, like delete the corrupted data and like back up the...
And like back up, try and give you, like fix the problem externally. And so then he stops the reboot. And he's just like, we can try. He's like, that's a good idea. Let's try it. You know, because it saves his memories. That's the one thing he doesn't want to lose. And like even still, you know, Kovacs has been an exponential douche to him. And he's just like, I still don't want to lose the memories of the stuff we've done together.
Because, yeah, Kovacs never left him behind, it said earlier.
And he was like, he's still my friend.
I was just like, oh, the only friend he ever had.
So then you have, cuts back to the party. Carrera shows up, and he's like, where did they take the prisoners? And she's just like, don't worry about it, it's fine. They've been dealt with. And, you know, she's just ignoring him. And she's just like, why don't you watch the fireworks? I'm sure you'll love them. We're about to do that. Why don't you watch that? I'm sure you'll enjoy them. And, like, at first he kind of steps away. And, like, because she walks away and he starts to, like, leave. But then he thinks about it. And he runs. And they're, like, SeaTac there. And they're just, like, it's an off-limits area.
Because he notices a SeaTac are preparing the fireworks. And you can see it in his brain. It's kind of like, why the hell? And then he something it over clicks there. And he just...
And then he gets there and runs past them. And then they're all... the techs who were left strapped to these rockets that are the fireworks. And he's just like, I'm not done interrogating that one. And they're just like, you can't be back here. And like they push him and stop him. Fireworks go off. And like they just send them up in a rocket.
And the orbital laser.
It wasn't even just the rocket itself. The orbital laser blows up the rockets.
God.
And then it was just like, okay.
Yeah, like, that's a very clear message of, like, back off now.
Yeah.
Like...
And so now there's even more, like, what are they hiding? What did they not want him to find out?
Yeah, and it's like there's clearly something more than just a skirmish going on.
And so then Kovacs wakes up, he realizes Kel is gone. And then it cuts to Tanaseda. And, you know, he's talking about, you know, the founders, and basically he's accepting the fact that he's going to die, because Kel is there.
He also asks, like, will it hurt? And
she's just like, only if I want it to. And he's just like, that's what I deserve. And she's like, we don't always get what we deserve. And then she does the thing to kill him and, like, start wiping his stack. And so then it cuts to...
Oh, yeah. More of the party with Trep and...
Yeah.
I forget, like, her girlfriend's name? Oh, because they said the kid died to a landmine.
Yeah, he had stepped in a landmine, and they, you know, rented a sleeve for him. And, you know, she's basically like, why didn't you just turn him in, you know? And she's just like, you know, like, I was a bounty before, and you basically convinced me to, like, just turn myself in, kind of. And, you know, I basically gave up a life to be with you and your son. And she's just like,
I'm waiting for you to do the same.
And then Trep, the Kovacs calls Trep, and she's just like,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And that was a powerful
It was.
line. I was just like, oh.
Because she's like, you're still chasing after your brother. And,
yeah, like, well, I'm right here. Like, that's not fair.
Mm-hmm. And, then it goes to the governor and...
yeah.
They did that weird stuff.
Well, the only thing I'll say is...
They just took someone's sleeve and they used it for what they...
which assumes, like, you had to have taken the guy's stack out of it.
Well, because they needle cast it somewhere. So they were basically on vacation. And they just borrowed the dude's sleeve. And it was just like...
Yeah, and he was like, oh, and she was like, you can get, like, a felony charge for that. It's like, oh, we'll just put the sleeve back where it was. You won't even know. And then they do a thing, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like a weird Black Mirror episode.
Really was. It was just like, this is what humanity has come to.
And he was like, I saw how you were looking at that girl's dad. I'm just like, oh god.
It's like, y'all are weird. But then it goes to Tanaseda. Well, then you also have Carrera is just like, what's the status on Evergreen? They're just like, it's on its way. Kovacs goes to see Tanaseda. He finds him dead, and he's just like, no. And he's just like, Kel obviously did this. And, his stack wasn't fully corrupted yet. He was like, there's still time. He puts it in this machine and plugs it in so he can see.
Oh, yeah, like the little
what he saw.
Dream house.
And it's like, it does like this weird, like, overlapping, but then it starts to show him and the other founders. And it's like starts showing what they did, but it's like they were burning something. And so it gets to the question, were the elders really just, here's this technology, or did they kill the elders?
Or, because the narrative we've learned so far is that, like, the elders were extinct when they found it.
Yes.
But it has them gathered, and it looks like a freaking, like, mother and child, or some type of, like, huddling.
Yeah, it was something
like,
huddling.
And, like, ash is, like...
Well, because they had burnt it.
Like, sprinkling off of them, and you're like...
Mm-hmm.
What?
And then it also cuts to, and then, like, Kovacs is, and he's seeing who all the founders are.
Yeah,
and, actually...
Oh, and the two meths at the bar.
Yeah, they were also
earlier.
there. And then, like, it's also glitching out because it's being, like, deleted.
Oh, yeah, and corrupted the whole time.
And so everything's just, like, whirling around. And then it cuts back to that, needlecast station. And, I cannot say this dude.
Dugan?
Yes. His name is just weird.
Yeah, a little
I'm going to call him Doug.
Doug.
That's easier. So Doug and his security, he's just like, he gets up there and the station clerk's just like, no one's supposed to leave right now. And there's like something military.
Yeah, like a lockdown, cause...
And he's just like, do you know who I am? And then she's just like, oh my bad, I am so sorry. And she's like, yeah. And he just runs through. And then, of course, like, some people also, like, were trying to, like, needle cast out. And they couldn't, and, like, they're...
Yeah, C-Texas.
And, like, some of them run through, and he gets in the elevator. And then you just see this hood behind him, and you're just like, well...
Yeah, and you can clearly see that it's Kel.
Yep.
And he's just like, oh, he's dead.
Yep. But then it's also Kovacs is still going, and it's like, it's showing, like...
Yeah,
what the founders did.
Cutting back and forth between...
But then, Bounty Hunter shows up, and she's looking around, and she sees all the bodies, and she's just like, this is a problem. And then she sees Kovacs, and he's hooked into the thing, but then she sees the stack he's, like, looking into
this
is red and not blue.
Line
she's just, like, pulls the thing off of him.
Going towards it and corrupting it. One thing...
Because it was also, I believe, starting to corrupt him.
Oh, yeah, because he was screaming out in pain.
And then, like, she yanked that off of him.
Yeah.
I was
just going to say, because oh, no, I remember now. One thing that happened that's really important before he gets a thing yanked off of him is Old Man Harlan goes down the steps, and he's looking directly at the thing, and he says one sentence only, but he says, blood for blood. Yep. And after that, the thing cuts off, and you're like, wait a minute, where does that leave us on? Blood for blood? What?
And it's like, I really believe old man Harlan is not gone. He is very much aware of what's going on. He just bounced.
Oh, I'm sure.
To protect himself. And she pulls that, like, him out, and he's just like, we gotta find Kel. He was like, she's not just killing Max. She's going after founders. And then Trepp is even just like, oh boy. And then it cuts, and, you know, Doug is dead. He is Doug now.
Doug. He is Doug.
And you see Kel walking up to, I believe, one of, like, their private, like, needle cast stations.
Oh, and she's just throwing bombs everywhere.
And, like, yeah, she just threw grenades in there and just walked out. And then, basically,
oh, yeah.
You know, the needle cast station turns red on the outside, and they've basically got all the people out. And then they're just, Carrera and his men in the middle are just like, Project Evergreen is here. And so you're thinking, oh, this is some kind of, like, weapon.
Yeah, like a T-100 Terminator, like, what is gonna...
And then out of the door, you start seeing, like, a person, and just, like... And then out of the door comes Kovac. And it is Kovac.
Original, like, Japanese body Kovac. And you're just like... Oh... And it's really funny, too, because I think they use the same lines from the, like... augmented reality flashback earlier. I forget the exact verbatim wordage they used, but I could tell it was the same thing, even though Jaeger is in a different body and this is clone Kovac. It's like, oh,
and you're just like, this is real Kovac. And it's like, granted, I knew from, like, the trailers we watched, it was showing, like, Kovac fighting Kovac, and you're just like, oh, did Jaeger, like, or did someone, like, get into his sleeve and is trying to, like, mess with him, or is he, like, spun up?
Because, yeah, in
you didn't think
one,
about it.
They had his sleeve
as, like, a fighting sleeve. But then you think Project Evergreen. I mean, living here in the South, we have a lot of evergreen trees. Evergreen is basically, it stays the same. It doesn't change. So Project Evergreen never betrayed SeaTac. They had a backup of him before that moment.
Oh, man. And it's like, this gets deep.
He never betrayed. He never had a reason to betray them.
Oh, my God.
And they just kept it backed up.
And it's like, at this point, the theories go wild about, like, where this
And that's
go.
basically how it ends. And it's just like, well.
Oh, yeah, what the hell is going to happen next?
Yup. So there's a lot going on. And we're going to have to see in the next video if any of it gets explained in any more detail, because that episode was a whirlwind.
It was a roller coaster.
It was.